the Prison City Podcast. When the bars go up, you're officially locked in.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Prison City Podcast. I am your unofficial host, Patrick the Rapist Cutler, here tonight, and we're going to have some fun. I'm going to tell you that much. Tonight, we're going to talk about Epstein Island, Jeffrey Epstein, a lot of stuff to talk about that. We did have a white elephant in your room, you might say, where we had a person recently lead the podcast. I said a drunk Snapchat, and basically it kind of get a little bit ugly after that, and some rumors were said about me and whatnot, and it was just a crazy situation, and he decided to boycott the podcast, which is a very good start if you're just starting a podcast. If one of your members actually quits and boycotts it, I think that's a pretty good sign we're on the road to success. So anyways, that's all I have to say about that, and let's go right to Mahomes.
Thank you. Really excited to be back. Obviously, we're one shy, and that's a bit of a bummer, but we'll jump right into, obviously, the topic tonight. And I think we all know his death was a little bit of an enigma.
God, and within the first minute, we already have Enigma on the show. So that's a good start to the show. And Kelly, go ahead, take it over.
You know, no publicity is bad publicity, and I don't know what that means, but I'll leave it there with the member that's missing tonight. Now lives in Venezuela. Just joking. You know, I'm really excited to talk about the topic tonight. Which can I go ahead and divulge what it is, Pat? I don't know if you said it in your opener.
Yeah, I did, but go ahead, talk about it.
Yeah, Epstein Island. You know, we talked about COVID and Epstein a little bit like a month and a half ago. Then we said, yeah, we're going to do a part 2 where we actually talk about Epstein Island, and we never did it. So a month and a half out, I'm glad that I've done absolutely zero research on it. So we'll just talk about what I knew last November.
Yeah, so just to cut you off really quick, I had one more piece I wanted to say. Not to get back into the white elephant in the room here already, but there was a group of people who had an open boycott on me, that they're boycotting me on the podcast and the theater production stuff we're doing. So I just like to tell our audience right now, I have Boycott Patrick W. Cutler t-shirts ready for all of you. It's in the link below. If you've ever been boycotted by somebody, this is your chance to join the official boycott, as I'm officially boycotting myself. Join the movement today, and that's my only PR piece, and we're going to get the Epstein Island right now. Go ahead.
Well, I want to thank Pat, too, for donating 25% of the t-shirt sales to this podcast so we can keep it going.
Honestly, in a very weird way, that becomes our first official sponsor. Boycott Pat Cutler.
Boycott Pat Cutler is the first official ad for our podcast is the Boycott Patrick Cutler t-shirt.
Yeah, so if you want to buy one, how do they get one of those, Pat, for all 6 people out there listening?
Click the link below. I'm gonna put it in the comments. I'm gonna put it attach it to this on the YouTube video. If you don't have the YouTube video or whatever, you're just listening to the audio version of this, go to the Patrick W. Cutler YouTube channel and check out the video version of this. The link will be posted there, and you can get your Boycott Patrick W. Cutler t-shirts. And the first event I'm organizing that we're going to boycott is actually our improv show coming up June 4th. Our improv show is June 4th at the Montana Bar. So I'm trying to get as many t-shirts going for that to boycott myself at the Montana Bar.
That'd be really cool.
And if you're not from Montana, anybody listening, please buy one, because one random day in 5 years, I want to be walking down the street in like Minneapolis and all of a sudden see Boycott Pat Cutler. I want to see that happen.
I'd like that very much. And actually, Pat, one question. For those families that hate you, do you have any youth sizes?
So for the families that hate me, I do. I was looking at the website I'm working with. They have like onesies for the babies. You can teach them right out of the birth canal. You can teach them how to hate Patrick Cutler and boycott him. So yeah, I want to make sure that everybody has access to him. Yeah, and maybe we'll have. I'm thinking about starting a school called Boycott Patrick Cutler to re-educate our citizens about this terrible guy.
That seems like a great idea. I mean, I certainly know I would enroll my daughter straight away.
Hey, speaking of apparel, Mahoney, I like your hat tonight. Montana till I die. Is that what that said?
Yes, indeed.
Nice. Beautiful, man.
What if you switch that to Boycott Pat Cutler till I die?
It would be a little lengthy on the hat. But yeah, we could widen it out. I'm sure we could find a way to make it look nice.
So Mahoney, you already bought a Boycott Pat Cutler t-shirt, didn't you, for our annual camping trip coming up?
I did, yeah. I couldn't think of a better time. Just for a little too much information, we have an annual float trip we've been doing for ever since we graduated high school, so years, almost 18 years now. And every year, one of the first things we do when everyone's there is a beer tasting contest, and Pat is absolutely dominant. So I decided to purchase a shirt so I could wear that during the beer tasting contest.
And for more information, those folks that don't know about Deer Lodge, the Deer Lodge, Montana home football team here and sports team is the Deer Lodge Wardens, and I personally customized a Boycott Patrick Cutler T-shirt for Mahones, who requested the Deer Lodge Warden colors.
Yes, I just thought hometown, hometown proud. Like, go Wardens.
You should buy two. You can wear one during the beer tasting competition, and then you can give one away. For one of the events that we do on that camping trip, because if you buy two, you don't get a discount. It's actually $4 extra for some reason. But 25% goes to the podcast. Remember, everyone.
It's the worst possible business model.
they had a thing you can click on, like charitable donations and stuff. I should click that next time I go on there. Is like, what can I donate to this to? So like on the thing though, they put categories and stuff. Like I put like social justice and all these different things for it.
Oh my god. that should just be our fucking like sponsor. I mean, because we don't really have one right now. Just say Boycott Pat Cutler and just perpetuate it the rest of season 1 of this podcast. Like, see how many we could sell for no fucking reason whatsoever.
Yeah, I'm here for it. And like, it pains me to be on this podcast because I want to boycott him so hard, but I can't grow the brand.
Just wear the shirt. Hey, just wear the shirt. We all know how you feel.
I can't grow that brand unless I'm on this podcast, but I'll do everything I can to wear the shirt. And hey. I hope to wear it in Seattle and hopefully like get a bunch of questions.
Hey, facts, not feelings. Facts don't care about your feelings.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it'd be so freaking funny to wear that around like a big city like Seattle.
So should we dive right into it?
Let's do it.
All right, let's go.
Kelly, I would say you're the expert on the subject matter. I know a little on the outskirts and did some looking on Snopes to see if I could find what was real and what wasn't. So,
yeah, well, there's so much here to talk about when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein. I know that it's like beating a dead horse for some people, but I truly think that he is pivotal in everything in the world, in American politics, in politics abroad, with Prince Andrew. Again, I haven't watched or listened to anything on this motherfucker since the 2020 election. I kind of tried to start stepping away from politics because, as we've discussed on the show, that gets unhealthy and stuff. And I was just like, I'm done with this shit. This shit is transparent to me and nothing going on in the world is making sense. But anyways, Jeffrey Epstein, I truly think is pivotal in the in all politics throughout the world, to elitists. I think he had so many fucking connections, and this guy didn't do shit. He didn't, he wasn't an electrical engineer. He wasn't a stock market guru. He made all of his money, which was billions, maybe more, billions upon billions of dollars, by blackmailing pretty much anybody he could blackmail. And that rabbit hole is so fucking deep. I wish that we knew everything, but the deeper you dig, the darker it gets. And it's like, nobody really should inflict that on their life. They should just know that it exists. And it's very, very scary concept.
I'll jump in really quick. One of the things that I think is really interesting is no matter what news outlet that you check into, the one thing is, he was supposedly a financial manager, but no matter what, no one really truthfully knows where his money came from. I mean, and it clearly points to, you've seen all the stuff about his black book and all the different names he has in there. Like, to amass that amount of wealth, and they talked to people on Wall Street, and he didn't do any day trading. They said he never had an office anywhere, and he amassed wealth, unimaginable wealth, in a very quick amount of time. It's like, okay, if where there's smoke, there's probably fire.
Yeah, I'm going to cut in here for 2 seconds. Um, he based on the documentary, the Netflix documentary I've been studying the last couple of days, like he was like a master, he was like a genius when it came to manipulating people, getting people to do whatever the fuck he wanted them to do. And that was his whole scheme when it comes to this pedophile ring that he ran for himself. And the scary thing is his wife helped him with it. It is like a gigantic pyramid scheme. It is just sickening the amount. I mean, you're talking about like hundreds of minors and shit, like 100. It's fucking disgusting. um it's crazy as shit. But yeah, anyways, he was a master manipulator, and he could just find ways to manipulate almost anybody he wanted to, which is just fucking crazy. He could be that good.
Yeah, absolutely. And he was a school teacher before all of this went down. So that's the insane thing, because we were teachers. The Cutler family comes from a long lineage of school teachers, and you don't just go from school teacher one year and then literally 5 years later you have your own fucking island and jets and your own mansion in Manhattan, your own ranch in New Mexico, I believe. And again, I didn't do any fucking like reading or anything prior to this podcast. This is all from shit that I knew studying like last year and whenever the Epstein shit came out. I blocked it all out. So I apologize if like some of my facts and shit like that aren't spot on, but I could talk about Epstein for fucking ever because he fascinated me. He's like the world's worst. I don't think he killed anybody. I mean, chances are he probably actually did, or he had hitmen kill people, just like he got killed. But this guy is like one of the world's worst serial rapists, serial killers, whatever you want to call him. He'll go down in history as a who fucking know Genghis Khan, but a terrible version of that, if that makes any sense.
I want to add one piece here for everybody to think about this too. As I was watching the Netflix documentary, and it's just crazy how many girls he had going in and out of his house and everything. It's like, are there certain people, do you guys think, that like sexually they're just fucking out of control? Like I could go, like for me personally, I could the rest of my life, if I never got laid, for our audience out there, I got a divorce about a year ago or whatever. But anyways, we had a lot of sex during our marriage, by the way. No,
Congratulations. On a quick side, congratulations on all the sex.
anyways, I could literally, though, personally, like after the marriage is a little bit difficult, but anyways, I'm trying to get on target here. I could go I got boycott Patrick Cutter. Did I say that? You had to get the t-shirt. I could go years. I could literally go the rest of my life, never get laid, and it would not be a big fucking deal to me at all. But you got someone like Epstein that was like, he had to have this disgusting, sickening girls coming in doing bizarre shit all the time, 24/7. You just feel like there's certain people in this world that sexually they have no control. They're just like fucking out of control.
Yeah, sorry. I thought Mahoney would field that one. But yes, absolutely. I mean, you look at Jeffrey Dahmer, you look at John Wayne Gacy, all these serial killers. Jesus Christ, Pat, the one you made a joke about on Facebook's Ted Bundy. Okay, Ted Bundy. You look at these guys, and all of them have something in common. It's always sexually driven from a young age, from pornography, from abuse, from something like that. So 100% sex could very well be the most dangerous drug, the most dangerous addiction in the entire world. Because when you do drugs and shit, sometimes you're not, hurting other people. Sometimes you are. Alcohol, same thing. But sex, it's always, towards other people, like 100%. If you're just looking at pornography and shit like that, fine. But where's the next line? You go out and rape someone, you go out and molest someone, you do what? So yes, a long-winded answer to your question. I think that sex isn't a ginormous addiction, and some people just live and die by that, and it's scary to me because I can't wrap my head around that. I really can't.
And before I go to Mahoney real quick, I just want to do a fault there really quick. When Kelly says Ted Bundy and references me, just for the audience out there, I'm actually a really good guy, but for the Boycott audience out there, I actually did do my first audio biography in junior high was on Ted Bundy. So I just want to throw that out there, and we'll kick it to Mahoney.
Go to the link below. $25 a shirt.
And honestly, feel free to pay more. You can tip on there. I noticed as well.
Yeah.
But no, true. Like to Kelly's point, if you look at serial killers, a lot of them went from, maybe it was petty crimes, and then it turned sexual to whether it's sexual assault or rape, and then it climbs because they look for that next rush. And a lot of them who actually admit to it will say the killing, or whether it's the pulling of the trigger or however their method was, they called that orgasmic. So it's kind of everything escalates up to it. And like we have talked about plenty of times before, when you're super wealthy and there's just you kind of want to test the limits, right? Like, I'm so rich, how much can I get away with? And Epstein's a great example of, he went for years without getting in any trouble, and like, he definitely should have been in trouble a long time ago.
Yeah, that's part of it. If you watch the Netflix documentary, it's fucking crazy how much shit, like these investigations, they had so much fucking shit on them, and yet he would manipulate situations to where he'd get off like fucking pretty much scot-free. Like, they all knew this was going on. Everybody in the police departments, everything else. The problem was the police departments, they all did their jobs. The FBI did their jobs. It's the higher up politicians when it comes to like the county attorney, the state attorney, that just kind of fucked all these cases up, where it's like, this guy should have been busted like 20 fucking years ago.
Yeah, and I love the like meme or the narrative going around now that's like, oh yeah, conspiracy theorists, you can manipulate thousands of people into believing this narrative and spreading it and covering up, and I can't even keep a simple lie amongst 3 friends. It's like, you stupid motherfucker, you don't even have the brain capacity to be on that elitist level. It's like, money talks, money's huge, and guess what else is huge? The threat of the death of yourself, the threat of the death of your child. Think about that. Somebody just gave you a lot of money, like money no one else can fathom, $500 million, Mahoney, right? And they're like, yeah, we need you to do this. You're a judge, $500 million, you're set for life. You can come to this island and have sex with little girls, and you can, snort all the coke you want and do whatever, and they lure you in. Even if you're a good guy, it's pretty easy to fall into a trap. Even if you're a good guy, it's pretty easy to fall in the trap and then have no way out. You got 500 million. And if you speak or do anything, they're going to fucking murder your entire family or worse. Yeah, that can actually happen. So all this stupid shit about holding secrets together, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You're not even on the same level as that shit. Like, think outside the box. Imagine what a $500 million is, because most people can't imagine that. That's $1 million 500 times. Most of us don't have $1 million. $100,000 is a fucking good salary to us. That's $1/10,000,000. I mean, the money is stupid. It's so fucking stupid. There's no word for it. And I heard about politicians. I mean, we should probably pick a rabbit hole and stick to it for a while. But I've heard about politicians getting paid off $2 billion in just like fucking fake printing press money from China and blah, blah, blah. $2 billion, not $1 million. That's insanity. And yes, you can pretty much keep people's lips shut the fuck up if you pay them enough, and they know you're going to fucking kill them within 24 hours of speaking.
And a thing came out kind of right towards the beginning of the first lockdown it was kind of going around social media that everyone knows. So there's QAnon, and then there's Anonymous, which is like, the Anonymous, they kind of do the leaks and things like that. And it was the Little Black Book came out, and then you started seeing all this stuff about like Will Smith and Oprah and all these super famous people. So if you imagine that they have built their wealth, maybe potentially on good, maybe potentially on bad. Like I said, the super rich have left, none of them are good. The uber wealthy have done bad things. They've taken people's jobs. They've burned a ton of bridges. Like, they're not good people. Maybe in general they are, but to get there, they probably did some shady shit. But imagine.
Just one point to that, Mahoney. I was just talking to someone about this today. You made, all 3 of us, we make $500,000 a year. How fucking stupid is that? You could do whatever you want. You could live and never work again. 500,000.
I want to do one. Yeah, I know. So, I want to do one point really quick. Is like, and statistics show human beings, if you can make basically, if you're making 6 figures, whether it's by yourself or with a couple, once you start making 6 figures, any fucking dollar after that does not improve your happiness whatsoever. But 6 figures is kind of like that medium where if you're making 6 figures, you're happy, but anything after that does not improve your happiness whatsoever. Anyways, go back to Mahoney.
So my point with those people, like the uber famous, who not only are they making money from movies or their shows or their magazines, they also have sponsorships. They're a whole brand. So imagine if someone has dirt on you that could totally destroy your whole brand that you've spent your whole life. Like, you'll pay whatever to keep it going, right? Because all right, whatever sponsorship I have going, I can pay that money for a year and I'll just recoup it, just being myself, making appearances, doing whatever. So
Yeah.
it's very easy to get down that rabbit hole.
And I'm going to add on to that, is like, if someone has dirt on you, you can just, do whatever to keep their mouth shut, or you can create a T-shirt called "Boycott Patrick Cutler."
see, and the more we talk about this, I really think just like you living in your community where you're at and making your community better is like the greatest thing you can do in life. That there, you can be as happy as you want, but money is not the answer. We all want money. If you have plenty of money, which is like $100,000 or whatever a year, you are living a happy life. We've talked about this before, the delicious beers, the food that we eat and stuff like that. This is a level. If you make $1 million a year, that's another level. What about 10 million? What about 100? We're talking about like fucking, they found trillions of dollars worth of gold and shit, underneath the Vatican in Rome. And you hear these rumors and shit like that. Can you even imagine how to play on that level? It's just a different world. Countries don't matter. Judges don't matter. The law clearly doesn't matter. I mean, it's kind of a scary fucking thing. And anybody that wants to bring them to justice, you are fighting an uphill battle,
It's about power too. It's all about fucking power. That's the money. It's not about the money. It's about fucking power is what it's about.
Who controls the world? Who owns the world? Which is really a fucking thing. It's crazy.
Yes, the top of the top. And I'll say, and it's very true, a very famous Sean Puff Daddy song along with Mace was very popular in the late 90s, early 2000s. Mo money, mo problems. And how true is that? How true is that?
That's the funny is that's true. That a lot of entrepreneurs that I follow and stuff, he's like, you know what, we're gonna show you how to make a bunch of money and shit. And they're like, but just realize that the more fucking money you make, the more problems you're gonna have in your life. Where things are a lot more simpler if you're just brainwashed and believing you have to work a 9-to-5 job.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that making money is bad. Everyone should try to make money, but when it comes to a point where it's no longer about money, eventually you got enough money. You got fucking enough money. Your money should be to make your community better, the people around you better, building up that aspect of life. But eventually, if it's all about you, yeah, you're right. It has nothing to do with taking home 6 figures. It's now I can take home 7 or 10 figures or whatever. And you're right, Pat. It's about fucking power. The United States, China, none of this shit really exists to these people. They're just playing a game of risk. They have billions, maybe even trillions of dollars. They're playing a game of risk. It's fun to them. There's no law. There's no order. They do whatever they want. Hopefully, some of them are good people. Because if not, then we're fucked,
Yeah. We're fucked then.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of how it feels, honestly. I mean, like, that's why my whole stance on the government's like, whatever, you just do the best you can with where you're at. There has to be some decent people out there, or else we'd all be dead by now, I guess, is the darkest possible thought. But this, I mean, when you look at Epstein and just all of it, it just stinks to high heaven. I mean, even I think the person who's like the furthest away from being a conspiracy theorist could look at this and be like, all right, yeah, this guy probably didn't hang himself.
Yeah. What do you think about the death of Epstein, Kelly?
Well, I was wondering if we could backtrack a little bit because we said the title of this podcast was Epstein Island. I think the death is the last. That's why we know everything.
All right.
But I was wondering if we could talk about the Epstein Island scenario.
Yeah. Also, Brad, how do you so Bill Clinton came out and said that he'd never been there, yet there's pictures of him at Epstein Island, and there's a flight log that shows that Bill Clinton went there on 26 fucking trips. So how and he's denying that. How the fuck do you explain that? Like, what was he doing there? Like, once I admit that I'll say one last. I think he hosted a lot of celebrities or powerful people, I don't think all of them engaged in having sex with minors or rape or anything like that. There's definitely a lot that did, but when it comes to like someone like a celebrity or whatever, and you see they went to that fucking island 26 fucking times. What the fuck were they doing there?
You know what? If you went to Epstein Island, maybe you didn't have sex with a minor or something like that, but they 100% have blackmail on you just from going there, you know? Um, this Epstein Island is just it exists because people, rich elitists, wanted it to exist, and you know this is why I have such a fucking problem with the media. It's because this is such an intriguing story. This is like a Hollywood fucking blockbuster. A movie should have came out a month after this motherfucker died or was caught, and it's nothing. So it's clearly they don't want to talk about it. But this is so fucking big. It's like, how do you not talk about it? It's like the biggest thing in Deer Lodge, the Rialto Theater burns down in Deer Lodge, Montana, right? And it's like nobody covers it. That's kind of fucking weird, you know? Like half of downtown just burnt down. So Epstein Island is just crazy to me. And you know, you don't just get your name on the flight books 26 times. And they'll even say, you know, the media will even admit that Clinton was on there, but they'll say, oh, he wasn't 26 though, it was 19. 19 fucking times is still bad when this guy had, you know, obviously minor illegal prostitution from all over the world come to this island. You think if you walked in, you know, like us normal guys, you walk into a bar and there's prostitutes in the back and they're all underage, you don't think you would go back there, right? Let alone 26 times. And I'm not saying that Clinton's the only one. I know he's not. I know the list is long and deep. I mean, he had shit on everyone. Anyone that had money, anyone that had fame, he had shit on them. And there's very few that he didn't. And I guess those are the good few that maybe escaped this crazy fucking shit we're living in.
I mean, that's to your point in the news. You know, you can look at the black book, which I delve into a little bit. And there's guys the people that control the media, the Bloomberg, his name's on there. And of course they just say, well, it was, you know, his wife just had my information for questions, or, you know, it's like, and there's no real good way you can argue against that because there's no proof. Most people were probably smart enough to not have a whole bunch of flight logs about going in and out. But still, if you control the media, even if you're dead, I guess what's her name? Maxwell is still alive. So she probably has some chips that she's holding, right? That's why this isn't a bigger story, because the people who are the heads of these major news networks, I'm sure they got dirt on them, so they'll just keep it quiet for as long as they can.
I'll tell you, Ghislaine Maxwell might be the most important person in the entire fucking world right now. And that's why I don't think we hear from her very much. Like, she's probably, who fucking knows? She could be in a bunker in Montana, you know, who knows? But she is so pivotal and so key to this. And I mean, if the good guys are going to win, they need her, and they need her testimony and all that shit. So
yeah, I'll just say, with the Maxwell lady, she was essentially the head recruiter to recruit these girls in. So the way the Epstein pyramid works is like it starts kind of with her, and she kind of recruits girls, and then what they end up doing is the girls they recruit, they pick like 3 or 4 of those girls they recruit, and they pay those girls money to recruit other girls. So it's so fucking disgusting. But they manipulate these people, these girls that they already have raped or whatever, and they went out and made those girls recruiters. So then technically those girls can be charges can be filed against them, and although they've been manipulated the entire time to be recruiters. But Maxwell is like the head of the recruiting. Like, she did such shady ass shit. I have no idea how Epstein or anybody else could convince a woman to do all this crazy, disgusting stuff where she sends these girls to her husband or boyfriend, whatever they were, and he just fucking molests them and rapes them. I have no clue how she could do that, but yeah, it's fucking wild.
Yeah. Well, Ghislaine Maxwell, yeah, super, super fucking important in this whole thing. And I just hope she's alive. You know, you don't hear about her. And it's like every fucking person with money wants her dead, you know. Just like Trump, it's like, is that guy still fucking alive? I haven't heard from him in a long time. It's just such a weird game that they play. And it fascinates me, but it also disgusts me. And I kind of want to, I've been trying to move away from it because it really doesn't make your life much happier. It's just this sick game that we can't fucking understand.
It's just not, you have no control over it, right? It's just like politics. You can debate all you want and you can make the vote for the person you think is right, but even if that person is right in your mind, you have no control over what they do, and maybe they do get blackmailed, or maybe they get bought out by some oil company, or whatever it is. You know, the stuff you hear 1,000 times. I don't think it'll ever happen, but I would love for Maxwell to take the stand, right, and just let us all free our mind, right? It'll never happen.
That might be a little too mind fraying for some people. Some people might go fucking insane if, you know.
Yeah.
Some people just can't wrap their head around this shit, and maybe, who knows? Maybe the media is like, their job is to keep us mentally safe and all that shit, safe places, whatever you want to call it. But to me, it's fascinating. It's a giant dark fucking hole that never ends, and most people probably can't handle like going down that hole, you know.
Maybe it'll be something like our kids or grandkids will learn about, like how now they're finally releasing all this evidence that UFOs are real, and it's just like everyone's like, yeah, okay, you know. Like,
yeah, I knew it.
That's cool. I gotta go like this thing on Instagram. You know, like no one cares. It really, I'd love to know. I think we would all love to know, but at the same time, probably would be just disgusting and like disappointing. And
to that point, though, it was I don't know who had the quote, but it said to like kind of end a democracy and just have control over people. It was about Roman times and stuff. Just offer them games and handouts, free stuff. And that's basically what the government's done. You look at our society today, it's like we got all these social media stuff. Those are games. We got the sporting events. Those are all games. Give them games and just free stuff, and people will just kind of ignore what the government's doing or who's taking control and just kind of.
You know, Pat, I have a weird conspiracy theory that no one's ever really talked about before. But driving across the country for our honeymoon, I thought about this. I was like, man, it really seems like America is like, give all these motherfuckers here like a bunch of money and let them go eat the most delicious foods and the most delicious drinks, so that they work their fucking asses off, because Americans work harder than any other country, right? So they work their fucking asses off, and then they just go play and they celebrate, and all Americans do is spend money, and to be the engine for the world. That sounds insane. I mean, that's not really a bad life. We don't have a bad life here. That's insane to think that could potentially be a possibility where that is our function in the world.
That just sounds to me like a guy who had to spend a bunch of money on his honeymoon.
but you see it though. You see the highways, and they're nonstop. You live in Seattle, you know. You see the highways nonstop. You see the sports games nonstop, and the $12 beers and all this shit. I really don't give a fuck about money. I like to play that game and shit, but it just seems like, man, they really just want us to keep going. So we're working our asses off, creating things, inventing things, patenting things, and we're constantly happy. Like, we're not a sad country. Some people are sad, but they're fucking stupid, you know? It's like, you live in paradise here is what I'm saying. Yeah. Like, if you're depressed in the United States, it's like, man, you live in fucking paradise.
Yeah, just add on to that, Kelly. Some people are so sad their entire mission in life is to boycott Patrick Cutler.
Is that the theme of tonight?
No, I understand your point, Kelly, to the overarching of like, we have it pretty good, but also like there is like depression's very real too. Like people that can.
Yeah, that came off the wrong way. I'm just like a point I made a couple weeks ago. Like, even homeless people in the United States are like eating Burger King, and like, this is delicacies and shit to some third world countries and shit. It's just like we should be very fucking grateful.
We're the richest country in the richest time in history because of technology, inventions, and everything else. We're gonna be like 3 to 5 times richer. In like by like 2050, we get 3 to 5 times richer than we are today. So it's like a lot of these things that the media pushes for, like there's a lack and there's not much of this or that. It's all a bunch of fucking myths to sell TV ads and everything else. So it's just kind of weird that people like Mahoney said about depression's real. It's amazing the depression rates in the US for being as rich as it is and as rich as we are today. The depression rates in the US are just kind of fucking insane, to tell you the truth.
And that was actually
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna say that was my point of that. You know, I understand depression's real and all that, but that was my point. Is like, God, man, you got a roof over your head and everyone's eating delicious food, even fucking homeless people. People might say, "You fucking heartless cocksucker," you know, they don't even have a fucking house to live. But man, I've probably given thousands of dollars to homeless people in my life. They're still doing better than most of the planet, and statistically, that would back me up. Sorry, Mahoney.
And I was going to say, you can see the rate of depression, and there's a lot of studies. Like, you can go down another wormhole if you wanted to, of the rate of depression and the use of social media. It has gone crazy, because you have, especially when you think back to like teenagers who their mind's still forming and they have all this self-doubt about their image, and then they're trying to compare themselves to this. Everyone's putting their fake life on there, right? So teenage depression has gone through the roof since the advent of social media, which again, I think is one of the worst things out there. Please check us out on Facebook, like our Instagram.
Get a Boycott Pat Cutler t-shirt.
Yeah, get a Boycott back on the t-shirt. I gotta check out that stat you just said about depression and social media, because like it is your point is 100% accurate. Is like, and there is a while back there was a video someone did put on social media. There are great things about social media. There's obviously we're on doing our own fucking podcast because of fucking social media, pretty much. If we didn't exist, that probably wouldn't exist. It gives a lot of people opportunities out of nowhere. Justin Bieber probably wouldn't exist without social media, YouTube mainly. But it's amazing because so many people, and I got off Facebook a couple years ago and I got back on or whatever during COVID, but there's so many people that they go on there, everybody wants to make the most glorious, my life is fucking perfect, look at me post 24/7. So everybody out there that's having, this is where I'm going to go down a really fucked up theory here. It's like everybody out there is watching those posts and, well, my life can't be that good if they're doing all this and that and everything else. So what am I doing wrong? That same person that's depressed over seeing other people's posts are making the same glorious posts about themselves doing glorious things. So it's like, it's just a constant cycle over and over and over, where you don't feel like your life is good enough, but at the same time you're doing posts that make it look like your life's perfect. It's just fucking crazy when you think about it.
Well, and people don't have, they're just so everyone's kind of in their own Truman Show. I think that all the time. Like, everyone's so locked in on like what I have going on. They don't think whatever maybe posts they're making about how good their life is might be affecting somebody else. They're just looking at whatever they're looking at, thinking, boy, my life isn't as good as this person. There could be someone that's their friend that is thinking the same way, but about them. It's just everyone, it's the older you get, the more you got to understand. You got to be like, I'm not like, it's good to worry about yourself because no one else is going to, but you also have to be like, all right, let's pull out and worry about like the collective people.
And, I'll go something down here too, is like, this is fucking crazy. Cause I realized this several years ago when I got on Facebook. I got on Facebook basically maybe a year after it was popular or whatever. So basically a year after it opened, I post crazy stuff. I posted whatever the fuck I felt, and it was great. And it was so cool. But I don't know, it was like 4 or 5 years ago. And this is where I kind of got off Facebook for like a 2-year period, but I didn't do anything on Facebook at all. I started to realize that their algorithm of where the posts that people see and everything else was so fucking stacked against anybody who went on Facebook and just told something honest and truthful. Like, if I said the more honest stuff I said, the more truthful stuff I said, I would get less likes, I would get less exposure, I would get less of everything. And someone like me that just wants to be point blank honest about everything, I get so much fucking less coverage of it. Whereas if I put a big glorious picture of me, my wife, my kids, or my family, or whatever, in front of a house or Alaska, whatever, I get 5 billion likes, whatever. But if I said something super fucking honest and true, it would be like, I was just fucking censored from people seeing it. So the algorithm is fucking people over itself. And that's what the scary thing is.
You say Epstein owned the media on Facebook, you would get blocked, flagged. I mean, something would happen. One of us should try that tonight as an experiment. But if you say something about Epstein, in all seriousness, not just Epstein didn't kill himself, the memes, they let them go. And I really think they did because, everyone thinks it's a fucking joke now. Oh, the Epstein memes, those are old. No, it's not fucking old because this is real life, But I agree, Mahoney. I was out at the golf course just a few hours ago and I was talking to, a kid we went to high school with, and he just said, yeah, I don't really get on Facebook very often. he said he has a page or whatever for his business. He goes, I try to stay off there because he goes, it's just always negative. He's super positive and out there with the sun shining on our shoulders and shit. And I was just like, I'm kind of in the point where I want to have a presence there because of our businesses, because of our comedy, because of our theater, shit like that. But outside of that, I really fucking can't stand a lot of it. And I made a post a couple months ago where like one day I will leave social media, and I think that's true. And part of me really thinks the sooner the better, but it's hard. It's fucking addicting. It's like saying I'm never going to drink again. I'm never going to have sex again. It's really addicting.
Well, and it just becomes so ingrained for me. It's like my bad habit is when I wake up in the morning, I'll read the paper and then I'll scroll through like Facebook and Instagram. Like that's before I like get in the shower or do a workout or whatever. It's such a shitty habit, but it's just like it's one I do.
Yeah. They say, when you go to sleep at night, you shouldn't look at your phone for an hour or something before you fall asleep. First thing in the morning, you definitely shouldn't look at that shit, 'cause that's, you're kicking off your day with whatever you're doing there. We're all bad at it because it's like you wake up and it's almost like the newspaper our parents used to get on the porch where, oh, we got to go pick up the headlines and read them. But it's so much worse than that. It's just stupid fucking shit. It's all stupid.
Yes. Much like Epstein and his island. All very good. And that's how we bring it back on track.
Yeah. Let's round the fucking penguin.
Let's round the fucking horses. We're bringing it back here. Again, boycott Patrick Cutler t-shirts. Get the link below. The hottest trend in Deer Lodge, Montana. Get on that bandwagon, folks, now.
Well, Pat, let's see. We've been going for about 45 minutes. I mean, you can talk about all the Epstein rabbit holes forever, but maybe we could jump right to his death because that's literally a lot of content there, a lot of opinions there.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a bathroom break here if you guys want to start talking about the death and everything, and I'll be back in about 45 minutes.
Sounds great.
Well, Mahoney, I don't want to label myself as like, the Epstein expert here or whatever, but maybe you could start with what you know and we can kind of just spitball from there.
Sure. And it's actually an interesting piece of news came out, I want to say late last week, where the guards admitted to being asleep, basically, and they came out and said, yeah, we had been working these long hours, we're short staffed, like every prison is, right? And what is most interesting about that is, okay, they admit that, and then they get like a fine, a small fine, maybe $2,000 each, and no jail time, not like this guy lost his life. If this is anybody, if there's a guard, and like imagine if it's your family member, for whatever reason, one of your brothers ends up in prison and the guards fall asleep and he's in depression because he's in prison and he hangs himself, like happens. That's a real thing that can happen. And you're telling me you wouldn't go nuts. You wouldn't try and press charges. You just accept like, yeah, a couple $1,000s each. They still have their jobs, like
right.
That's one of the things, like the more that comes out, especially about that, like those people are not necessarily like, if you follow the story that's given, the ME medical examiner says he did it. He hung himself. It was a suicide. Okay. If you follow that, and then the people that were in charge of his death don't get in really any serious trouble, it doesn't check out,
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Doesn't check out at all.
100%, man. I mean, and it's funny that we end up here with the, Prison City podcast, and we're talking about prisons again. Like we always come back here, but people say, "Oh, did he kill himself? Did he not kill himself?" I will say this: it did not go down the way that it has been portrayed in the media, on social media, everything. It did not go down that way at all. And I would put every fucking cent I own. And I'll tell this to Pat while he's on. I would put every cent I own, every property I own, and my fucking family's life on the line to say that Epstein's death did not go down the way they reported it, and they knew that they were falsifying the reports, and they knew that they were fucking lying to the public. Most of them, not all of them, but most of them. It's just such horseshit. I mean, people commit suicide out at the prison here, Prison City podcast, right? And these people are like low level. You don't really expect it, From Epstein, they admit that he was depressed or whatever, suicidal. It's improbable. It's 100,000,000% improbable.
And just, I can't remember the exact timeline of arrest to suicide, but it wasn't long. It wasn't basically like we have him in custody, and it wasn't like 3 years later he commits suicide. It's like, okay, we got him, we know where he is, let's get to him before anything can get out.
Yeah.
And magically the guards who are supposed to be checking him are asleep. I mean,
it's ridiculous. It's like if this happened here, then why didn't Charlie Manson like escape from prison? Because that's more likely than what happened here. Why didn't Charlie Manson? I don't think he was suicidal. Why didn't he go and somehow murder half the cell block without you noticing? That's more probable than this shit. The more that comes out, it's just like, how did you? It's like catching Ted Bundy and then just like putting him in a giant refrigerator box behind Town Pump in Deer Lodge and saying, now you stay there, we'll check on you in 3 days. Fucking idiots.
I mean, it really is like, okay, this is a guy who could have potentially the most damning information on the most powerful people in the world. Let's put a couple snooze guys next to him and just it'll be fine.
Like the worst guards on the face of the planet. You guys are really tired. You got insomnia. Great, come on in.
Just a couple sleepy toddlers over there, basically.
Oh fuck yeah, it's fucked, man. I don't know, Pat's looking up facts there or what?
No, I am looking up facts. So
good, I'm gonna take a piss.
Yeah, it's your turn now. Just here, based on a CBS 60 Minutes report that investigated this, that they had Dr. Michael Baden, who actually researched his autopsy and everything. I'm surprised they actually didn't, because most times when they do like a fake suicide or whatever, they like make it so they can't do an autopsy and all this shit. This guy actually had an autopsy of it. Said there were fractures of the left and the right thyroid cartilage and the left hyoid bone. I've never seen these 3 fractures like this in a suicidal hanging. This guy's gone over 1,000 different jail hangings and suicides in New York State prisons over the past 40, 50 years. And nobody in all those fucking suicide hangings, thousands, over 1,000, sorry. Nobody in the last 40, 50 years had 3 fractures in their neck and shit. So his suicide is highly, highly fucking questionable, to say the least.
Well, and you would think, most people who are going to hang themselves, like he's probably seen, it's a pretty straight, normal break. But you would have to imagine that maybe someone who is potentially fighting for their life and doesn't want to be hung might be able to break more bones in that instance. And like you said, most of the time they'll try and, they'll do something where they can't really check. But when you're in a cell, there's really only so many ways you can commit suicide in a cell. So they only had really one option of like, okay, we're going to have to hang this guy and we're going to have to make it look as legitimate as possible.
Yeah, and get this shit. So on July 3rd, this is before the suicide, on July 23rd, Epstein is found on the floor of his cell with a strip of bedsheet around his neck. The government says it was a failed suicide attempt. But Epstein himself claimed his cellmate, a 52-year-old former police officer, attacked him. And that's what's kind of like fucking crazy, because it's like, okay, why the fuck is this high profile guy doing in a fucking cell with somebody else? Not only in a cell with somebody else, but with a fucking police officer. Like the police officer has like 4 counts of murder. So he's a lifer no matter what. So it doesn't matter. It does not fucking matter what this police officer does to this guy, because he's going to fucking prison for life. So it's like, why in the world would you put Epstein in the cell with anybody? And Kelly, you're gonna get this. Kelly's come on here really quick. So Kelly, just recap. I'll talk about a July 23rd incident with Epstein, where before he committed suicide, he was found on the floor of a cell with a bedsheet around his neck, and he claimed his cellmate basically attacked him. The cellmate was a police officer. There was life, basically go for life for prison because he had like 4 murder charges on him or whatever. And I saw Mahomes here was like, why in the fuck would they first of all put Epstein in a cell with fucking anyone? The second point is, and you put him in a cell with a fucking cop that has 4 murder charges on him. Why the fuck would they do that?
You would never, just for people who don't necessarily understand protocol, or just think common sense. When you have a high profile prisoner, like, let's just say when they first get intake, or even better, before they even have a trial, you are not going to have them with anybody. Like, do you think Jared from Subway was sharing a cell with anybody? And he wasn't even nearly to the level. You know what I mean?
Definitely
Even,
not a child.
good Lord. And even like in Montana, Nathaniel Barjona never shared a cell. Like, and this guy is one of the most famous criminals ever, probably, and at least like kind of the most in your face, you know. And there's no way in your right mind you would ever put him as having a cellmate ever.
Yeah, no, 1,000,000% no. Like, there's no odds on this. I was telling Mahoney earlier, I'd put every cent I own, every property I own. There's no fucking odds. It's 0 to 100 odds that this shit, one, didn't go down the way it did, and two, that he, to your point, Pat, with the way he hung himself and everything, it doesn't fucking make any sense. And I know that we can't keep beating a dead horse all night, but I mean, what about, did you guys watch any of this like Prince Andrew shit? That's where it gets really interesting.
It gets really fucked up. So Prince Andrew, who so the story goes that this girl that Epstein and everything, they're basically using as a sex slave essentially. They're at a party in Spain or Italy or somewhere, I can't remember where it was, and the girl.
And what's her, Mahoney? Maybe if you got a second, look it up. Like Virginia something Roberts, but we should definitely put that name out there because we can only say so much. Pat, I'll let you continue here in a second, but we can only say so much here. But if you want to learn about Epstein and all this shit, it's out there.
Yeah, it's out there.
Yeah.
The Netflix
Renee something. Sorry.
Yeah, the Netflix documentary was pretty fucking relentless. It was very, very good. Very, very well done. Very good documentary. Obviously the person who made that documentary wasn't from Hollywood. But this girl had a picture taken of her with Prince Andrew and everything. And then basically after the picture was taken, they said, you need to do to Jeff what you need to do to Prince Andrew, what you do to Jeff. And work is bizarre as fuck, is this dumbass Prince Andrew years later goes on the fucking BBC in Britain and goes on and says he never fucking met this girl or seen her whatsoever, yet there's a fucking picture of him with her. So it's like it's just insanity, like why he even did that interview. It's insanity to think about all this shit.
Dude, at some point you need to stop listening to the fucking media and everyone else. It's like your friend tells you somebody in a bar tells you one thing, and then your friend tells you another. It's like, eventually you have to use human judgment. You really do. Did either of you watch the Prince Andrew interview with
I did,
BBC?
Yeah. And so Virginia Roberts is the name of the gal. She's now married to, Virginia Guffrey is what she goes by. I'm probably not saying that last name right. But yeah, I've seen interviews of both. I can't remember why. It was just something that came on and I was kind of curious to be like, okay, because I mean, it's about as bad as you could have an interview go if you're
it was terrible. I only watched parts of it, but yeah, you're exactly. It was so like she asked point blank questions and he just clearly fucking lies about it.
It was like you ask your brother or your friend something, and or your child. Actually would be a better example. You ask your child, like, did you put the gum on the window? You can
see beads of sweat coming down.
No, he doesn't sweat, remember.
Oh yeah. So the thing is, she said he sweated like crazy all over her, and then I
don't sweat.
and then he came out of nowhere. He came out of nowhere to defend the sweat accusations. Like, what the fuck is this?
I was like, that's not, we do improv and shit. That's not the route I would have went. I don't sweat. What a stupid, like a 5-year-old trying to make up a lie. That's what it looked like the whole interview.
I mean, and you can't, like, you have to imagine that he had probably some sort of like interview prep from the royal family,
Well,
right?
those people should be fucking fired if he did.
You have to imagine that. Can you imagine you're the royal family's PR and you're just sitting there watching it? You're just like, well, I guess I'm fired.
No, that's so fucking crazy to think about. You say that the interview prep, like did he have all the money, all the power, all the resources, and that's the fucking interview he did, having any resource he wants pretty much on planet Earth, and that's what he fucking did.
Yeah, and all American media said about it basically was, why the fuck did this dumbass do this interview? Like, that's all they said. Like, why did he do this? He failed this interview. And then they said, like, how, they backed up all of his claims. I mean, that must have been some hard backing up. Well, no, actually, 1% of the population doesn't sweat. But I mean, they totally threw him under the bus and said, you fucking idiot. Like, you could tell American journalism was not happy with what he did there.
Well, it's kind of like, I talked about this before, it's kind of like a classic American thinking of like, wow, that guy's an idiot. At least that's not our problem, right? Like, yeah, that's over there. That's not us.
Yeah.
It's like,
take the focus away.
Yeah, it's like fucking Great Britain watching the insurrection back in January. They're like, that's the happiest they've been since we fucking, the Boston Tea Party happened.
Oh, look at a segue to getting Mark Anthony Reigns back on here.
And actually, it's funny you say that, because joining us now live, no. He's not on. Mark, if you're listening, thanks for listening. But yeah, you guys had to be thrilled, right? Like, were you thinking, good, this is what you get for throwing that tea party?
I can't wait to see, because Mark Anthony Reigns, he's a really cool guy from Great Britain. We had on here, very cool guy. He watches a lot of the stuff I post on YouTube, always comments. Very, very cool guy. I can't wait to him to comment on this episode and be like, well, what happened to that fourth guy that was on this podcast?
Hey Pat, he actually just tweeted, "Where the fuck is Jay Marsh?"
we're not even live or anything.
Yeah.
He still
knows.
He still somehow gets all the links to the show.
After this goes live, I go on my t-shirt shop and there's like 500 orders going to Great Britain.
Hey, folks, you can pay an extra $30 on the podcast and we will stream live to you. Everyone else doesn't get it till next Monday. But
honestly, and if you do an extra 30, we'll stream live to you and you can pick our topic for the week.
Dude, I wouldn't do this one publicly. We talk about Patreon doing like after the show parties or whatever. I would honestly tell the whole story behind this whole boycott or whatever in like a paid episode, to tell you the truth. I wouldn't do it as a free episode, but the shit's pretty fucking crazy.
Well, you've talked about before, and you guys, if you want to know what he's talking about, go back to episode 2, because we just fucking lost our minds for 20 minutes and left the record button on. But Pat's talked about this before, like maybe doing shows after the show or a segment or whatever for 10, 20 minutes. Obviously, we'd have to charge for that because we say the best stuff in that one. You can also buy t-shirts, Boycott Pat Cutler. CutlerBros.com. We don't even do theater anymore. We just sell t-shirts.
And honestly, so far it's going well. Business is a booming.
I'm gonna have to put like a fucking, when I edit this, I'm gonna put a fucking title over the entire thing that says Boycott Pat Cutler t-shirts and get the address
available here.
Not available here.
Oh fuck.
Oh man. So the thing I'll say, we'll probably talk about it again at some point, but the one thing I will say is like, it does bum me out. The older you get, the less friends you have, whether it's, you get married or you have kids or whatever. So I was kind of, I didn't know him well enough, but I was like, all right, this would be kind of someone add to my friend circle. And so it bums me out, man. I don't really know enough of the backstory, but it doesn't sound great. So it just bums me out, honestly. It's just like, oh man, I'm a 35-year-old with one less potential friend now.
So I'll give a little bit more details about this as we're on the topic of boycotting me.
It's late enough in the podcast. Everyone shut it off 30 minutes ago.
The true story is I send joke Snapchats to people all the time. We joke around people. The only snaps that I send to people though are people that I know. They're not strangers. They're people that I know. And basically, there are 3 people on that list that I know that I sent to that I thought were my friends, and they somehow tried to make it dramatic. A backstory to kind of give into what he might have thought or whatever is those people that aren't familiar with Deer Lodge. There's this very expensive, rich like resort for super rich people. Not quite as rich as Epstein Island, but pretty close. It's called Rock Creek, and basically, a lot of people out there they work out there, and they kind of get almost like a privileged type attitude. So, in all fairness, this is kind of just a fairness thing that the J Marsh is like. When I sent the snap, 2 of the people out there worked at Rock Creek, and they started spreading it to everybody. And I think he kind of felt, in a way, peer pressured to talk about it, and peer pressured by these other people that work up there to try to make a big deal about it. So I think there's a lot of pressure on him to make this thing a huge deal when it wasn't a fucking deal at all. And I'm just saying this because at the end of the day, he's not the real villain here. There's other people that are probably more the villain that pushed it on it. I think he felt pressured. He didn't want to lose his job. He didn't want, and that's extreme. He wouldn't lose his job, but I think he felt pressured to kind of be like, okay, maybe that was over the top. So I think he felt a lot of pressure at his job up there at Rock Creek. Where, if you want to be a real fucking winner and be the most privileged person alive, go work at Rock Creek. You get paid a whopping $12 per hour, and you're a millionaire.
Well, you know what? I truly don't believe that. Well, maybe who fucking cares, honestly, but. I don't know if Jay Marsh will never be on this podcast again. I mean, I would welcome him back if one day, we could settle that dispute. But, you mix fire and water and things happen. And you have Mahoney just touched on this. You have such a friend base, and it's like, a pot of boiling potatoes or something. There's 3 or 4 of us or 5 of us in there. And you start adding more and more to the fucking concoction, more water, whatever, and it boils over. And it's just a little bit, too much, but you always have that fundamental friend base to always fall back on where you fully understand each other. And to develop a lifelong friend, as we all know, it takes a fucking lifetime. If you know someone for 20 years versus 5 years or even fucking 3 years, there's a big fucking difference, we've all gotten in fights. Every single one of us have gotten in fights on this podcast. Generally, they're over within minutes or definitely the next morning. But a 20-year friend, a 30-year friend or longer is very different from a 3-year friend. Friendships take a long fucking time. And if he's back on the podcast, great. If not, fuck him, and I hope he burns in hell.
I'll say one last thing on this.
Just joking, Jody Jones. I don't even know who we're talking about.
Like, I would say this for honest. Like, I don't want to go into it at all, but it's like there are some very vile and nasty rumors spread about me over a fucking Snapchat joke, and that's what really that's like when people do that, it's just so low. But I don't think he's a really real villain. I think he got caught up into it or whatever. And I applaud him. He actually came to me and told me the truth eventually. But the problem I had was that the snap I sent was last Tuesday or whatever. The podcast is Wednesday. He had all day to come to me and say I had a problem with this. He had all day to talk to me. His decision not to talk to me because I thought we were friends. This is kind of what hurt me the most because it's like, if you have a problem with me, talk to me like an adult. Talk to me. Like, he chose the route to just boycott this podcast because of me. And I think that's what probably set me off the most.
Well, eventually,
Nope. I'm just kidding.
I mean,
well, thanks for cutting me off because I can't remember where I was going there.
My hope is that cooler heads will prevail. And it sounds like I wouldn't say the hatchet's buried, but I think it's partially in the ground at this point.
The hatchet has turned into a fucking nuclear bomb as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, as we've said before in this podcast, that doesn't surprise me. You guys know Pat tends to not hold a grudge, so I'm sure this will go away quickly.
Can you imagine though, Mahomes, like how me and James we never would have had this argument or anything if the state prison of Montana just would have let us film Enigma on state prison land.
Well, and again, I don't know what you sent, and you probably weren't like in the proper mindset to be like, God, I probably shouldn't send this. But like in that snap, were you ever like, yeah, this kind of maybe this one's a little risky, or you're just like, ah, fine, I don't care. We'll see
You know what, Mahoney? Honestly, my wife Marissa was trying to read it to me on our trip. We were in Florida, and I was like, nah, I don't want to get involved. I don't know. I just knew that whatever that was going to be was not going to end up good. So I was like, I'm not. Don't worry about it. So we're driving. It's all quiet for about 30 seconds. I was like, okay, read it to me. She's like, no, I'm not gonna. You know how your wife or whatever does that. No, I'm not gonna read it to you. I'm like, no, just fucking read it to me. I want to know. No, you said you didn't want to know. So, anyways, I didn't even really know what it said until pretty much yesterday or a couple days ago, and now it's such a fucking farce. It was. I mean, I say that Pat paid the like when I got in trouble in courts, as you guys remember, I think statute of limitations is up on that thing. But I got in trouble, and the lawyer said you should pay an idiot tax, and that's about as much trouble as you should be in. I didn't ruin any property or whatever, and that's all Pat should do is pay an idiot tax. Like you get drunk, you wake up, you're hungover, you feel like a fucking moron. That's it. But outside of that, I mean, it's like you do something stupid when you're wasted, right? And I come up and
we all have, yeah. I mean, it's pretty common.
The most I would do is be like, man, you were fucked up, dude. You probably shouldn't have pissed in the church confessional. You know,
hey, since we don't have
that's it.
Done, but
since we don't have a paid subscription yet to this podcast, does anybody want to actually hear what I actually sent?
I mean, we can probably save it for the post show. I think it's probably better.
Or you could somehow start the PayPal thing where people could pay for it right now. Because we need money, folks. Like, we can't keep this going forever. I mean, these are rented laptops from a library.
Like, listen, we talked earlier about how like money, doesn't mean that much, but for us, like, it means a lot.
So get your hands on those Boycott Patrick W. Cutler t-shirts right now.
We could really use it. Like, the only reason Kelly was able to do the math of what $500 million was so well is because we have so little money. Please help.
One last. Sorry, Pat. The one last thing I wanted to say about the whole thing was like it goes back to this stupid social media shit, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook. It's like, man, we grew up, the three of us, and we went to Matt Freeze, who was a previous guest. We went to his basement with my brother Matt and Travis Evans, who's passed away and shit, and we would do we would just say like the worst fucking things. And I'm not bragging about that, but I'm just saying back in the day, it wasn't all publicized. The freedom of speech. It's like, you want to make a fucking joke? You want to make a joke about me? Great. You want to make a joke about your wife? Great. But nowadays, since this joke, which wouldn't hold a candle to what we did or said in 2004 or 5, blew up to this sort of fucking thing.
I would say also, though, you talk about social media and people reading things digitally, and I think Mahomes will agree with this. When people read something like digitally, it's a lot different than if you just said that joke in person or whatever.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
So like we've done these roasts, and Mahoney is part of one of these roasts, and we've done 2 roasts in like 5 months or whatever. And the shit that was said at these roasts, fucking, I mean, my snap does not come close to the stuff that was said. These not even fucking in the same ballpark. I mean, but it was said in a different context, so people are like, "Oh, that's cool. We can make a."
It's almost like if you sell tickets and people buy tickets and they sit amongst other people and watch you, then it's okay. But if you put it on fucking Facebook or something, it's not okay. That doesn't make sense to me. I'm still the same person with the same sense of humor,
And that's, I mean, so much can get lost in translation, right? If you say it a certain way, or if you type it a certain way, if you don't put a period, or you like, everything can get lost in translation, because when you send a message out there, you also have to account for, because they're not in a theater setting, they're not in a group setting where everyone's kind of trying to have the same experience. So you could send a message to someone and they could be in the middle of a shitty day, and then they read your message and they take their shitty attitude into it while they read it, and they're going to make it something that it might not be.
Yeah. Do you ever try to twist a message too? Like, I'll see a message that's over, Facebook Messenger or just on Facebook in general, and just for fun, like, okay, let's pretend this person was being sarcastic and it's fucking hilarious, or let's pretend like they were really happy about this, or and then really sad. I try to do more of the positive things, but you're right, you can't read that shit, and even with people I've known forever, they'll send you a message sometimes. You're like, oh, really, motherfucker? 2 words in that message? You must be really pissed off. Even though we were joking and having a great time, just 10 minutes ago.
I think the overall sensitivity too with social media that's gotten people super fucking sensitive. Like I told you, like, man, when Facebook first came out, oh fuck, I went on there and said whatever I felt about whatever, about whoever, and I did not give any fucks whatsoever. Now, if I did anything remotely close to that, people are like messaging, "Are you okay? Are you suicidal?" It's just, yeah, it's crazy. I did a test. I was wasted over Christmas or something like that, and I put out some just crazy shit, and I was just doing it as a test. I was like, I'm gonna put this up for exactly an hour and just see what happens. Well, after 15 minutes, I pulled that fucking post instantly. Let's just say that. But yeah, I think people have grown a lot more sensitive to digital messaging and stuff, where it's like, this is offensive. This is so crazy. So again, they try to make something out of nothing. The problem I have is the people that I sent it to, they all fucking know me. Like, they know me. Most of them know me pretty well. They don't all know me really well, but most of them know how I joke. And I've heard their jokes, and their jokes are ridiculous. And they've said stuff during roast or whatever that are way over the top than I said on Snapchat. But it's like, one of my good friends told me about it. A lot of it though is about virtue signaling, and you talk about the peer group you're at a theater. Kelly talk about a theater, and it's cool because that people are laughing, whatever. Where you're in a peer group at this place called Rock Creek, and they want to fucking virtue signal and make themselves look like they're fucking all-stars and shit. And then you're kind of in a situation like J-Mars where you're kind of pressured into basically agreeing with false rumors and shit about me. It just, the whole thing's kind of shitty, but that's kind of my stance on it anyways.
Well, to me, it's just like, settle the fuck down, everyone. Just settle the fuck down. Okay, someone says something you don't like. We used to, just go, wow, that guy's fucking weird, and walk past, But nowadays, it's like you have to make it your own goddamn business. It's like, settle the fuck down. We talk about this every show, but you're living in the greatest time in history. Go get that juicy fucking burger and that giant beer, and go have sex with, your wife or some stranger. Who gives a shit? What the fuck? We're like purposely trying to depress ourselves when there's nothing to be sad about? Like, yes. Wake up.
Yes. And that's
wake up, Mahoney.
I'm awake. Honestly, the only thing after hearing all this, all that I think about is what's the move.
Hey, don't jizz where you eat. God, that one statement, don't jizz where you eat, is way worse than I fucking said in that snap. I'll tell you that much.
I mean, I hope that's not his last one, but
but here's the thing about Epstein, guys.
But I'll tell you what, if it was his last one, he went out on top. That was his best one by far. He kept delivering. But anyway, speaking of delivering, let's talk about someone delivering a killer to Jeffrey Epstein. So,
before that, one last thing I'll say about like the age gap. It's so weird that we talk about this, because it's like you're in your teens and 20s forever, it seems like, right? And all of a sudden you're like 35 and 36, and we seem like we are like old codgery fucking grandfathers or something. Well, back in our day, I mean, it's so weird how fucking times change. And, that's what has been, and this is the scary part, that's what has been ingrained and put in the minds of not just us, but the younger generation. So a 10-year difference is extremely different from, sorry, I got fucking kids yelling back here. God damn, you get married, you got 15 kids in the fucking room.
I mean, so far, folks, the marriage is going really well. Really well so far.
But you get ingrained in this thing that we all see, media, TV shows, Hollywood, whatever. You get ingrained in it, and we're like, I don't want to say smart enough, we're just from a different generation where it's just like, oh yeah, it's a fucking movie, You're not going to go dive off a building and fly like Batman. I truly think that people that are 20 think that if they wear a cape, they'll fly.
I'm if we have any 20-year-olds listening, which I can't imagine anyone's listening anymore, but I know that you're not that dumb. Honestly, the biggest difference, again, social media. They grew up with social media, and we didn't. Like, we didn't get MySpace till college, right?
Yeah, I got my Facebook my freshman year of college, and guess what? I didn't give a fuck for like 10 years. I didn't give a fuck. I still don't think I give a fuck, but you're scrolling, so you must give some of a fuck, you know.
Yeah,
I try not
exactly.
to. Do you ever like be like, fuck, what am I doing? You know, do you ever do that and put your fucking phone down and go smell the fresh air?
I'll catch myself like in the morning when I'm like, it's a great way for me to like not work out. Yeah, it's basically because I want to get the workout in before I start work, so then I only have to shower once a day, right? And so it's a great way for me to just be like, I'll just keep going for 5 more minutes, and like, nah, lazy ass, get up and do the work.
Yeah.
I catch myself when I'm looking through the ads for like used RVs and shit on Facebook. And I'm like, all right, I'm clearly like, I need to motivate myself here.
That's perfect. But Mahoney had said something just a couple of minutes ago about getting back to Epstein, which I think we should probably end on because that's the subject of today's podcast. What you were trying to get back there? What'd you say?
That someone clearly sent someone to kill him. I mean, that's
yeah.
That's the long and short. You know, it's too bad that we'll probably never know what really happened. I think it's that way on purpose, but it bums me out. But who knows? I mean, then think back to all the things that we don't know, you know, that we have never known about presidents or the uber wealthy before the Rockefellers, or, you know. So who knows? It's probably best that we don't. Sometimes ignorance is bliss, and the more you know about the filth that's out there, the worse things are.
Yeah, it doesn't really. I don't think it really matters to our life. You know, if you want to run for politics and stuff, then maybe you've put yourself in that circle of like influence and stuff. But what's fucking crazy is it's almost like a giant TV show, like the next or the biggest greatest hit of all time. You know, you have Lost and you have I don't even fucking know. I don't watch TV. Bates Motel, whatever you fucking watch. But it's like it's constantly interesting. So I'm just like, is this like Pat Cutler and Mark Mahoney and Kelly Cutler at the very top? We have trillions of dollars. We're like, you know what? This would be funny just to fuck with the world for our entire lifetime. And this is just me having fun right here, but it just really seems like that twists and turns and ever and Pizzagate and Epstein Island and blah blah blah. It's just like you're constantly fascinated and you're constantly like, well, okay, what next? Is someone gonna go to jail? And no one ever goes to jail. Nobody's significant. Bill Clinton, Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, okay, he went to jail, but that was like a fucking subplot where they had to kill him off for whatever reason. But Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, Jay-Z, whoever you think might be involved, it's like they constantly keep you intrigued and watching this shit. And that's why I kind of ended watching politics after the 2020 election. I was just like, this really is fucking stupid. Like, this is really fucking stupid.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of where I was. You know, before COVID hit, I was in Alaska by myself, in this village in Alaska by myself, and I had spent.
Wrong.
There was multiple people in the village.
I just had to get one in there.
And I'd shut down fucking all my TV. I canceled TV. I didn't watch any news. I didn't watch anything. If Mahomes can remember back, Mahomes made a thing about COVID. It was about a Bud Light versus a Corona or something like that. And I had no fucking clue what he was fucking talking about. I had no idea what coronavirus was. I had zero clue. I was that fucking cut off from the world. And it's probably like the happiest I've been in a long time. When you cut yourself completely off, problem is you come down in the lower 48 for the rest of the United States, and you're constantly bombarded by ads and TV and everything else. And I'm stuck here and I can't do anything, and I have to watch TV, and it's like, a minute you go back into the fucking social media space and all these negative things, you're like, fuck, but like, it's hard to do, but if you can ever separate yourself off of the media, off of the news and everything else, your life is going to be 1,000 times more happier than if you're just always on Facebook, always listening to the latest news and everything else.
We talk, all the time, and it seems like we're joking, but I'm almost not joking anymore. Like where we go for our camping trip, our junior buzzards. It's like, man, what if that could be just like forever? Of course, it can't in Montana unless you want to live up in the snow and shit. But it's almost just like, fuck it, And I'm thinking more and more about this. The housing market, not just in Deer Lodge, Montana, but everywhere, is insane. And it's like we could sell everything that we own right now and go fucking live our dreams, our childhood dreams, our 20-year-old dreams right this second, and have plenty of money for the rest of our lives. So the question is, why don't we? Like, what's fucking stopping us? We don't want to retire. What is it? It's very strange.
Well, I mean, one thing, I think I still want to do theater and stuff. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's always going to be in our hearts, theater and comedy. I think that's like the most, I've said it before, the most addicting drug on the face of the planet.
Yeah.
You can walk away from it for a while, but you'll never leave it for good. For me, I'm just like almost like crossfaded on that. And I'm like, I could use a break, but I guarantee you, if I took a break, I'm never doing theater again. 6 months, a year later, I'd be like, I'm fucking back.
Sometimes you do a sabbatical. Like me, I basically took a 12-year sabbatical, then got back into it.
Yeah, exactly. I can't imagine that. I don't know, but you get tired of fucking you just get tired of people. I don't know how to say it nicely, but you're doing comedy and shit, and once you stop getting nervous about it, I feel like you've had that major breakthrough. Once you're like good at it, you just don't fucking care anymore, and you're like, oh god damn it, I gotta go make these motherfuckers laugh again. Not that I'm Chris Rock or anything like that. I'm just saying, I guess I'm a little bit wore out on it, and it's, if I could take a break, I feel like I'd miss the shit out of it.
Yeah, you would. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like
I've never taken a break. You went to Alaska. I've never fucking taken a break from this shit. Who knows, since high school. Mahoney, you've taken quite the break.
Yeah.
What are you gonna say?
I mean, you do miss it. Like I try and find little ways to like scratch the itch, whether it's like a company karaoke party where I'll go up and sing without any music, or like if there's little skits that can be done, I'll go do like any sort of, even like when you get in spots, I'm like, God, I might just go do an open mic night one of these nights, and just for the rush, for no other reason other than to just feel that feeling again.
Yeah, I know.
It's like injecting fucking crystal meth right into your vein. Or isn't there something about it where just to make people laugh, and a lot of people, it's just like, oh my god, this is fucking awesome.
Yeah, and I agree though, Kelly. It's
right?
like, there's been shows that I've done where it's like, man, this I don't have fun anymore. It's not the same thing. It's like becomes so easy. Everything kind of becomes what it is, and it's like, I agree with what you're saying though. Like originally, it's like it kind of becomes like more of a job than it becomes like something you really love to do. But then you take a break away from it, and it's like all you can think about is like, man, I'd love to just do. You take even just like a year off. I'd love to just do a fucking show right now. Anything.
Well, you think what you're doing in life is frivolous and stupid. We create all these YouTube videos and we do all these comedy nights, and eventually you just think like, this is a fucking waste of time. But then you stop doing it, and Mahoney can attest to this more than anybody. But you stop doing it, and you wake up and you go, that's the best fucking part of life, is getting up in front of 100 people and making them all laugh until they shit their fucking pants all over the theater, and you got to clean it up.
Yeah.
And like, it's the ultimate high to the ultimate low, because then you realize like, I got to clean all that poop up, man.
Well, yeah, I mean,
that was my fault.
I went away for a long time. I got like an office job. I got everything kind of sorted out, and it was always, there was so many days where I just felt that itch to get back into theater, get back into making movies, get back into everything. Although like the failures and the lack of people showing at the shows at times, and the fact that you can't get a movie to go anywhere, a lot of those things I think get to you over time. You get burnt out. But at the same time, once you quit it, you're like, okay, well, what am I really?
It was all worth it. Like, it really was all worth
you
it.
kind of go to like an office job, and your 9 to 5 office job or whatever, and you're kind of like, this is just, I mean, this is kind of fucking boring. If you get worn out and get bored during shows, you're not going to have a higher high doing like a fucking office job or something. I'll tell you that.
Fuck no. You know, and sadly, sorry, Mahoney, but sadly, I've always had this like teeter-totter thing where I want to be an entrepreneur and I want to make money and shit. But then the more I do that, the more I'm like, this is fucking boring. I want to get back to making people laugh and living wildly and writing scripts and blah, 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 everything we just talked about. And we were just talking about this tonight, Pat, during Glenn Ross rehearsal. It's like, we are at the point where it's like, we're not acting. We don't want to act anymore. We want to be that character, that thing on stage. And once you get to that point, you're literally just sitting there as, like, for me, Al Pacino, just looking at the crowd talking. It's like, okay, what's so great about this, you know? But then you get done with it, and a year later or even longer, you watch yourself on stage and you go, you don't even recognize yourself. You're like, who the fuck was that person, you know?
Yeah, it's hard to do, you know, like when we went through the run, when we opened it up, there was definitely days where it was like, man, you're putting so much time and effort into building the stage, getting the lighting, getting the blocking. And you know, you go from one show to the next, and it's either I'm doing a show or I'm doing practice for the next show. And then you put all this time into these musicals and doing the numbers, and then, you know, you have 4 fucking people show up. And those are the days where it's like, you know, and you still go out and do the best. Like, I remember that show that we did, a forum, where I thought it was one of my favorite musicals I've ever done. And we go, and there was literally 4 people, like 4 paying customers. And
I think there was 2. I think it's the lowest attended show in Cutler Brothers history. 2 people.
Oh, so maybe I think there was 4 people in the stands, and 2 of them were our concession stand workers.
And it was a Sunday matinee too.
Yeah, which, you know, you're expecting a big crowd, and you're kind of waiting, hoping, because you guys know when there's a crowd, there's kind of that buzz, right? You can kind of hear people, the chatter outside of the, and then so I remember I took a peek, because I didn't in that show, I didn't come on for a while, and I took a peek, and I was like, really? You know, like, all right, I'm gonna go and do the best I can, but it's gonna be probably not my A+ effort. You know, I'm gonna give him a C. And
you could say you don't give a shit about the crowd. You know, I try to tell myself that, like, okay, whoever shows up, it's fine, which it is fine. It really is. You know, it's like you're performing for someone, you're giving someone joy and everything. But, you know, as a performer, it's like you want the fucking 100 people there, as many as you can fucking get. That are,
well, I think,
and all of them get like your humor. All of them get it. That's the best show, and they don't happen very often, which is crazy.
And I think you guys, like, the rush of live theater is not only you go up in front of people and you're putting yourself out there a little bit, but once you get used to it, the rush is more of like, I'm in front of people, I'm maybe gonna try something new. But the big rush is the feedback. It's an immediate feedback. It's not like it's different than, you know, the movies we've done, because you don't really get, like, even if you guys think what I was doing on camera is funny, you can't laugh. You know, like, so there's no immediate feedback, and that's the best part of, like, even if you try an ad lib and it bombs, or you try an ad lib and it crushes, you know right away it's the feedback. And that's
the best thing I want to say I ever did in my life on stage was like Of Mice and Men or To Kill a Mockingbird or something serious, because you don't get that feedback. Like, your feedback is at the end, if people are coming out shaking your hands and they're crying, if tears are coming out of their eyes or something like that, or if you get a big ooh, that's it, the whole show. So after being a comedian, a lot of people didn't think we could do Of Mice and Men. After being a comedian, it's like, guys, this is going to be definitely very different. But I think that was the healthiest thing I've ever done as an actor, is play something serious. Pat played Scrooge last Christmas. I think it's probably the same experience. But yeah, sitting back and not getting feedback for an entire show, and then people, delayed gratification, people saying, wow, that was fucking awesome. That was almost worth not getting a laugh over, you know, us shitting our pants or something in a comedy night.
Yeah, and I think that maybe I'm not cut out for serious acting then, because, like, I like even if I went and just delivered like a very serious line, I'd be like, you guys fucking heard that, right? Huh? You guys heard it.
Well, you did, Going Nowhere wasn't our biggest film ever, but I thought you did a hell of a job in Going Nowhere. Like, you had some serious shit in there. And to go a step above that, you think of Jim Carrey and some of the greatest comedians of our life, Steve Carell, since they are so fucking funny, their serious shit is so fucking heartbreaking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
oh my God. And yeah, I just think that comedians aren't just cut from one cloth. I feel like there's a whole spectrum there. And the funniest guy in the world is also like the most heartbreaking, the scariest fucking dramatic actor alive too.
I think it's easier to be serious on camera than it is in front of people, without question.
Yes,
Like-
yes.
You can deliver a serious line or capture a serious moment because you're not anticipating audience feedback, or it's just because it's you and whoever you're acting with and the person behind the camera, and it's easier to deliver that way than it would, for me anyway, than it would be in front of an audience full of people.
Right. But what's that have to do with Jeffrey Epstein?
Well, he liked to deliver groups of people to his island, and
So I have a question for you, Mahones. Would you consider Pat Cutler to be the actual Jeffrey Epstein of Deer Lodge, Montana?
I mean, it's hard to argue.
It's hard to argue.
I can't think of points for or against. So, yeah, yes. Short answer, yes. Yeah.
I think, Pat, that might be how you're perceived by some, like a very small minority. But no, there's too much shit that happens in this town. Honestly, I don't think you hold a candle to, I'm not going to name drop anyone like Oos Anderson. A lot of fucked up shit happens here. So I really don't think you need to worry about any of that shit. I don't think anybody cares, honestly.
No, and for the record, I consider it behind me at this point. I think it's just kind of weird that we had to address it because it involved our podcast being kind of boycotted or whatever. But at the end of the day, I don't hold anything against anybody. Be clear, I'm not trying to have sex with anybody. I'm not trying to fuck anything. I never did. I am not hooking
Except
up
for
with-
Mark Anthony Raines.
If Mark Anthony Raines is listening, then yes.
And Mark, if you are listening, you're the only one at this point. So thank you.
But yeah, I think J Mark's still really cool. Very good guy in my book. I think he got caught up in some stuff at this the white privilege of Deer Lodge, which is Rock Creek. And I think he didn't really have much of an option given the situation. So I'll give him a pass on this one, But I think, right now it's like, like Kelly talks about Deer Lodge. And Deer Lodge, for a lot of people that know aren't familiar with Deer Lodge, Montana out there, it's the prison town of Montana. And as a kid growing up in Deer Lodge, it's not too bad, but as an adult and you went through a divorce, you got stuck here during COVID and all these different things. And I had a lot of fun doing plays and films, but like Deer Lodge can be a very fucking tough place at times. It's just tough atmosphere, tough environments and stuff of that nature. So it's like, I'm kind of on my way out of town and I'm just trying to fuck as many. Okay, I'm stopping there.
I was gonna say you were doing great. And even in my head, I was like, all right, where's this thing go off the rails? Like, where is he had a nice heartfelt message. How's he gonna land it? And he didn't. He didn't land it at all.
Who was I talking to yesterday? And they said something about Donald Bromley, right?
Yeah.
So Donald Bromley, we grew up with.
Okay, I'm going to cut you out there really quick, Kelly. Donald Bromley is actually going to be the special guest on our show next week, by the way.
Yeah, good segue. Yeah,
His look is like he caught an actual fucking alien on tape in 25 different
in a cage, and he rapes it every night.
That Snapchats out about it.
Well, that should be a heck of a show.
Okay, but seriously, Donald Bromley, which we really do want to bring on. He's an interesting motherfucker. This is our friend from high school, John's brother, who is now a comedian in Missoula, Charlie McCorn, right? And this is his younger brother. So growing up, we would film Donald in different fucking little movies we do and shit, Groundhog's Day and Multiplicity and other things that we love to do. But the point of the matter is that Donald told us a story about his wife's ex-husband.
What?
He's like, stay in your lane, fuckface. Okay, I definitely had a point there. What were we talking about before that?
I honestly don't know. I don't like. We were talking about how Pat was talking. Deer Lodge is a great place to grow up, and it's tough to live in. And then all of a sudden, you're like, "So listen, I'm not sure."
Oh no! Oh, sorry. He's got a picture of the alien on his phone, right? So he's Jesus Christ. This actually is a segue. So he's pushing this narrative, left and right, for 3 years, 4 years, whatever. So my point of the matter is this podcast, Cutler Brothers Productions, Mark Mahoney comedy, whatever you want to call it, you should never stray from that, because the older you get, you really are like a fucking fine wine, and people want to hear what you got to say next or whatever. And I think that's how people, quote unquote, make it. I think that they just keep going. I'm a country singer. I'm a country singer. I'm a country singer. I got a picture of Bigfoot. I got a picture of Bigfoot. I got a picture of Bigfoot. So that was the point, even though.
And then the finish.
That's fucking segue.
Jeez. and to finish that point is like, as Mahone knows and Kelly knows, like my brand or everything I do is kind of like chaos and crazy shit. So it's like the Boycott Patrick Cutler t-shirts are legit. Get them right now and support the chaos that I'm causing. But the whole Snapchat thing or whatever, it's just honestly at the end of the day, I'm just trying to push as many boundaries and buttons as I could. The truth is I pushed too many, and I don't apologize for fucking doing that.
Okay. That seems like a good spot to end her, huh?
All right, we're going to end this show right now. I'll give the last 2 points of view here to Kelly Mahone. If Kelly, you want to go first?
Well, I don't know where to start. Epstein or, your best friend backstabbing you right in the fucking heart. I guess I'll just give a couple words of motivation out there. Is just, anybody that's out there that's doing theater or trying to start a business or doing comedy or whatever, just keep fucking going. It's so cliche. And sometimes you get up in the whirlwinds of the mix and you're like, what the fuck am I doing here? Does this even matter anymore? But as we said about theater, once you get out of it, once you get out of the thing you love, your passion, then you look back and you go, fuck, yeah, that's where I belong. So just believe in yourself, just keep going with whatever you got, and don't stab your best friend.
I think someone's intentionally cutting that last part off.
No, we're not digging on that.
I think it was your internet really didn't dig. Recording started. No.
What in the fucking skank just happened?
I don't know. You guys probably got hacked. No. What I'll say, so Kelly had the nice one. I'll say kind of the opposite when you talk about Epstein. If you guys go looking for the darkness, you will find it. It's out there. There's terrible people out there. So try and just promote happiness, promote good within your community, good within your family, because there's a lot of bad people doing a lot of bad things.
Yeah. Well, I'm just gonna end this here today. I'm not even sure this fucking thing recorded at this point, so we'll see what we put out there. It's probably just these last minutes. But I recorded the desktop, so it shouldn't have a fucking problem. But at the end of the day,
this is probably the best podcast we've ever done, so I hope so.
At the end of the day, the truth is, I don't have anything against anybody. I'm perfectly happy where I'm at. I wish everybody the best of everything. I don't have any grudges against anybody. Just having a lot of fun in life right now, and I hope everybody has the best and of everything. And so good luck to everybody, and nothing but happy and peace and joy from me here tonight, folks.